So here's another video. I'll try to make it very simple, even though it's a very broad topic that is weight loss. I think I've spoken about weight loss in a video before, but I know you guys haven't watched it, so I'm doing this again. I hope that some of you gain some benefit from it, and if not, then just enjoy watching my face for the next, I don't know how many minutes. Uh, I don't know where to start from, to be honest. But I think the best way to look at it is the same way I looked into the building muscle video, and that is there are three main parts that make up the process of weight loss, and that is your food, your training, and your sleep. Now, first things first, as well, I'd like to clear up some myths regarding weight loss. And the first one is always your genetics, and I've spoken about this before. Um, no one is born fat, no one is born overweight. Genetics have little to no effect on your weight. In fact, there's nothing that your genetics can do to you that you can't overcome with a proper diet and nutrition, training, etc. So let's clear that out of the way. Most people who are obese and I wouldn't say obese, let's just say overweight, and they have overweight parents, it's not because of genetics, it's because their parents reflect their bad eating habits onto their children, which is something that really annoys me. Like when you go into a fast food restaurant and you find like an obese family, it's because the parents are not responsible enough not to reflect those habits into their children, and that's what happens. That's why their children learn to eat more and eat unhealthy, and poor children have no choice, and they think that this is what's normal, and they continue on doing it until later on in life when they realize that this was a big mistake and now they look bad, and they start becoming more conscious about it, and usually then it's really difficult to reverse that process. So one more thing that really annoys me is when people say that they have slow metabolism or a slow thyroid. Metabolism is dependent on a few things. One of them is your genetics. Not so much though, because when you look into the average metabolism between humans, you will see that the number is in a range that is not very broad. So it's usually between like 1,005. I'm talking about the BMR, which is the basal metabolic rate again, which is the amount of calories your body burns at rest, which determines how fast your metabolism is, in other words. So when you look at the average number, it's usually between 1,000 and 2,000 for everyone. So it's not really that different. So I don't think the genetics make a huge difference when it comes to basal metabolic rate. However, there are other factors that play a role in your metabolism, and that is your weight, your muscle mass, your height, and that's about it. So if you look into the equation, one of it is weight. So the more you weigh, the more your metabolism is, actually, because your body needs more calories to maintain that weight of yours, and because you have more mass on your body that needs more nutrients, etc. So no, the more you weigh, the more your metabolism is, actually. So not the other way around. Also your thyroid. Now, for those who are not familiar with the thyroid, it's an endocrine gland that is in your neck, and it is regulated by the hypothalamus somewhere in your head that sends a thyroid releasing hormone to the anterior pituitary that releases the thyroid stimulating hormone that goes to your thyroid to release two hormones, T3 and T4, which help regulate your metabolism and temperature, etc. Now, many people blame their thyroid for their weight, but the truth is, unless you're clinically diagnosed, not many people have issues with the thyroid. The thyroids are usually perfectly fine. So if you do have symptoms like weight gain, fatigue, hair loss, sleepiness, stuff like that, you can go get your thyroid checked. I guarantee you your thyroid is just fine. uh, so yeah. And how to stimulate, I wouldn't say stimulate, make sure that your thyroid is perfect health. What you can do is stick to a diet, stick to a training program, and eat iodine rich food like fish, etc. So keep that in mind. Now on to the next topic, which is insulin. It's also blamed for lots of weight gain problems with people. Now the thing is, most people have some sort of insulin resistance in some way, and that is not because of insulin itself. It's because of your lifestyle and your habits. So what we do is that we eat lots of food that stimulate our insulin, and we mess around with the way that our insulin is produced, and therefore that's how we mess up with the regulation system. So if your body is used to constantly having food coming in, and food that is of high GI index, what happens is that your body is going to constantly release. So what insulin does is that it takes glucose from your bloodstream into the cells, so muscle cells, liver. It stores them in a process that's called glycogenesis, and glycogenesis is the process of converting glucose into glycogen that is stored in the muscle and in the liver. So when you constantly have high blood sugar levels, your body is going to constantly release more insulin to try and balance that level. So insulin's main role is to keep your blood sugar levels normal, and that is not too high and not too low. So if you're constantly eating stuff that raise your blood sugar, your body's constantly gonna release insulin. Now, one more thing that insulin does is that it stimulates lipogenesis, which is the storage of fat. So not only do you help regulate your blood glucose by getting more insulin, you're contributing to storing more fat. So it's not insulin's fault. Insulin is doing what it should do to keep your body's blood sugar levels normal, which is essential for human life. But constantly forcing your body to produce insulin can cause these fat storage habits. So what you need to do is try to increase your insulin sensitivity, and that means how sensitive your body is to releasing insulin, which means that usually during the day your insulin levels are very low, your glucose levels are normal, and then whenever needed, your insulin is released at the proper amounts for that glucose that's in your blood to go into the right places, which are your muscles and your liver, without that extra lipogenesis. On the other hand, what really happens is that we increase our insulin resistance. Now, there are conditions that cause insulin resistance, like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, Cushing syndrome, but not everyone I know has these syndromes. So unless you have these problems, then you can't really just blame insulin. If you do have these problems, then there are medications that would help improve your insulin sensitivity, and you can check with your physician. But if you don't have these problems, then the best way to increase your insulin sensitivity naturally is to stick to a diet that is healthy, that is low in sugars and fatty foods. So now let's move on to weight loss. Okay, I've spoke too much about the myths. Now it's time to get to the true facts. Weight loss is dependent on your diet, on your training, and on your sleep again. So let's start with the last point. That's the opposite to what I did before, and that is your sleep. Now, many of you would think that doesn't make sense, because when you're sleeping, you're not burning enough calories, but when you're awake, you burn more calories, and so it makes sense to not sleep to lose more weight. But that's not the fact, because when you're sleeping, that's when your cortisol levels are low, that's when your growth hormone levels are high, that's when your testosterone levels are high, and those hormones help you lose fat. On the other hand, if you sleep less and you're tired, your cortisol levels are high, you won't be burning as much fat as you would if you get enough rest. That would also help you get more energy and refresh yourself for the next day to be able to work out harder and burn more calories. Also, cortisol is linked to appetite. So when you sleep less, you find yourself getting more cravings and being hungry the next day, and that is because of that as well. So when you sleep, you burn, you rebuild, you refresh, and you get the most out of your hormones and the least out of cortisol. So always keep that in mind. Sleep is very, very important when it comes to weight loss, and I also recommend 7 to 9 hours, or at least 4 to 5 cycles of 1.5 hours to get the most out of all your sleep stages. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 being the deep sleep, and 1 and 2 being where you 3 and 4 being the deep sleep where you get the most out of your hormones. So now let's move on to the next point, which is training. Now there's something that I read that really makes a lot of sense, and I would like to implement it here, and that is whatever helps you build muscle when you're bulking helps you maintain muscle when you're cutting. This is a very important piece of information to keep in mind, because I get this question a lot of times when people are trying to cut down or lose weight, and that is, how shall I train now? Do I do more reps, low weights, and that bullshit? And my answer is always keep on doing whatever you were doing before. That is, you don't have to change your weightlifting program when you're trying to lose weight, because the way you were training before, if it really helps you build muscle, then it's at the same time it will help you maintain that muscle and also burn more calories. Because now, if you think about it, doing 20 reps of 10 kilos is gonna burn a certain amount of calories, but if you do like 10 reps of 50 kilos, that's gonna burn way more calories. So the whole myth of doing more reps and low weights helps you tone up the muscle or shape up the muscle is just bullshit, because the shape of your muscles is determined by genetics, and it's determined by genetics 100%. You cannot do anything to change the shape of your muscles. Please keep that in mind. You can make them bigger, you can make each head of the muscle bigger, you can lose the fat around it, but you cannot change the shape of the muscle you're born with. That's why some people are born with shit genetics, and it's not for bodybuilding at all. I have shit chest genetics. I don't like the shape of my chest, but I have huge abs for some reason. My abs are just huge, and I don't know if that looks good or not, but yeah. So that's just one example of what your muscles would look like depending on genetics. So yeah, going back to training, for weightlifting, you keep on doing the same thing you've been doing when you were building muscle, because your main purpose when you're weightlifting on a cut is to maintain that muscle mass you hardly gained during your bulk. So you don't want to ruin it all by going less extreme, less hardcore. You want to keep that intensity as much as possible, as much as you have the energy and power to do so, because your strength is gonna go low later on when you cut. So you want to try to minimize that strength loss and minimize the muscle loss as well. So another factor to play a role in your training during weight loss is your cardio. So I always say this to everyone who is trying to lose weight but who is not very obese. Keep your cardio as your last weapon. So cardio is a very, very useful tool. However, if you abuse it and you use it too early, your body adapts and your body does not respond to it as much as it would if you do it properly. So the best way to look at it is to not do any cardio for the first, say, 2-3 weeks on your cut. Of course, it depends on how long your cut is gonna be for. That's why I recommend at least 12 weeks. So you have time to experiment. You have time to see what works for you and what doesn't. Of course, the same wouldn't apply to someone who weighs 200 kilos. So let's say an average person is trying to cut down, get some abs for the summer, on a 12-week cut. For the first 2-3 weeks, don't do any cardio. Just measure your weight loss and then try to gradually increase your cardio. So 2-3 weeks no cardio, and then do like 2 days a week where you do 20 to 30 minutes of low to medium intensity steady rate cardio, where you just basically say you do an incline walk for like 25 minutes or the elliptical trainer for like 25 minutes. So you do that and then you keep on measuring your weight, and if you notice that you need more cardio, you try to gradually increase the intensity or the time of your cardio. Keep that in mind. Intensity, time. That's how you manipulate your cardio to get the maximum results. So increasing intensity means, let's say you were doing incline at 5 degrees, now you do them at 10. Increasing the time, instead of doing 25 minutes, you do 30. So on and so forth. You get the point. The point is that during your cut, you have to slowly and gradually increase your cardio to get the maximum results. Always keep that in mind and do not abuse it. Now, I'll speak in another video about the different types of cardio. Whatever type of cardio you'd like to follow, it doesn't really matter. What matters the most is the amount of calories you're burning at the end of the day and how much you enjoy it, and other factors as well. Now on to the last and most important part of weight loss, and that is your diet. Now, I've spoken about this before and I'll speak about it again. Your body needs a certain amount of calories to maintain your weight. That is called your maintenance calories. It's basically your basal metabolic rate plus the amount of calories you burn during your activities. And you can always measure that on, go to Google, any online calorie calculator would give you a good amount, a good estimation. Also, you can do that on MyFitnessPal, the application on your phones. And no, I'm not sponsored by MyFitnessPal. I just use it and I like the app, so because some of you would start nagging. So yeah, find out how many calories you need to maintain your weight and consume less than that. As simple as that. It's just not rocket science at all. You just need a certain amount of calories. When you consume less than that amount, your body has to compensate, and what it does to compensate is that it burns the energy that's stored inside you. So the main source of energy is your calories. When your body doesn't have enough of that, it burns your fat for the fuel. It makes a lot of sense, because think about it this way: when you're eating too much, you're having a lot of energy, and that extra energy is stored in your fat stores. When you need that, when you're consuming less calories than you need, your body uses that fat stores for that energy. And as simple as that, that's how your body burns fat. So find out the amount of calories you need and consume less than that. Now, there are two ways to do it, and honestly, to me, it doesn't matter which way you follow. One of them is either by going super healthy, clean diet and cheat days, that usual stuff, or to use the method that I've been using and method that everyone else is using these days, and that is if it fits your macros. So basically, it is consuming whatever food you want to in a 80%. So 80% of that food should be healthy from wholesome, nutritious, one ingredient food, and 20% from anything else, like candy bars, whatever you feel like, whatever you're craving. Um, as long as it fits the amount of macros you need for the day, as long as it fits the amount of calories you need for the day, that's how if it fits your macros work. Now, there are benefits and disadvantages to both. Starting with if it fits your macros, the benefits is that you get less cravings. You usually feel satisfied with the food you're eating the things that you like, and you don't feel like you want to cheat or you want to give up or any of that. The disadvantage to if it fits your macros is that usually the food that is high in calories or food that is unhealthy bears very low weight or nutritional value. Like, how do I explain this? Think about the size of a burger and think about the size of a salad. Now put them all next to each other. So that's the burger and that's the salad. The burger helps you feel full, right? But that amount, that size, is the same that fills your stomach as the amount of salad. And at the same time, that burger has like 500, 600 calories, where the salad has like 50 calories. So unhealthy food has more calories per gram than healthy food. So what you end up doing is that, so 600 calories of unhealthy food is this much, whereas 600 calories of healthy food is that much. So what happens is that when you're eating unhealthy, you're eating less to get the same amount of calories. And that usually results in you being hungry and unfull most of the times. So now moving on to eating healthy, the benefits and disadvantages. The benefits is that you get your nutrition that you need and you eat a whole lot of food and you're still in a caloric deficit. However, the disadvantages are that you feel hungry, you get some cravings, the food is not very enjoyable, and so on and so forth. But the whole point of being in a caloric deficit is to try and reduce your portions than what you used to eat when you were eating in a maintenance. And the best way to do that is to either reduce your portion size, or improve the quality, decrease the amount of meals you're having. So using these three methods, you can manipulate your diet plan accordingly, and you can do whatever you want to try and get to a caloric deficit. Like I always say, as long as you're consuming calories that put you in a deficit below what you need to maintain your weight, I don't care how you do it. But I'm just giving you examples. So let's say you used to have 5 meals a day, and let's say your first meal was 2 toasts and some butter and jelly. So I'll give you an example of how you can put yourself in a caloric deficit. So instead of 5 meals, what you're doing is you're making them 3 now. I don't care, you don't have to have 6 meals a day to lose weight. That's a myth and that's just bullshit. If you still believe in that, then oh my god, you're still in the stone ages and you need to read more seriously, because you will be surprised by how much bullshit used to be spread around and believed by many people. Anyway, let's go back. So 3 meals instead of 5, and instead of each meal being this big, now they're becoming this big. And for your breakfast, instead of having 2 toasts, butter and jelly, now you're having 1 toast, which is brown toast, or just 1 toast with peanut butter and fruit, no sugar jam. See, you're improving the quality of the food, you're decreasing the amount you're eating, and decreasing the portion size. Anyway, I think that's about it for your diet. Oh, also, do not go very extreme with your caloric deficit. So if your maintenance calories are around 2,200. The best way to start your diet is at 2,000 calories and then work your way down. So what also happens is that your body adapts and your metabolism starts to go down as long as your weight is going down, like I explained earlier. So what happens is that when you're losing weight, your metabolism is going to go down, your body's going to adapt to the 2,000 calories you're eating, and now instead of your body needing 2,200 calories to maintain your weight, now you need 2,000 calories to maintain your weight. So what you do, on the other hand, is that you reduce your calories further, and you keep on doing that until you reach your goal. So gradually, probably 200 calories every 2 weeks, that should do. Whatever method you try to do, healthy eating, if it's your macros, keto, whatever, as long as it follows the basic principle of caloric deficit, you are going to lose weight. Now, when it comes to the macros, you need enough protein to maintain your muscle mass. That's the most important thing you should keep in mind when you are getting on a diet. And to maintain your muscle mass, you need around 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So let's say you weigh 100 kilos, you need 200 grams of protein to maintain your muscle mass. And then for fat, on a deficit to maintain healthy hormone levels, you need around at least 0.6 grams of fat per kilogram of body weight. So that's like, well, if you're 100 kilos, that's like 60 grams of fat, which to me sounds like a lot, but yeah, they're 100 kilos. Okay, you can go from between 0.5 to 0.6 to be on the safe side, because 60 grams of fat is a lot on the deficit. That's what I think anyway. So 0.5 to 0.6 grams of fat per kilogram of body weight, and the rest of the calories, since 1 gram of protein gives you 4 calories and 1 gram of fat gives you 9 calories, 1 gram of carbs give you 4 calories. So the rest of the calories that remain from after you add your protein and your fat, you divide that by 4, you get the amount of carbs that you need for the day. And you keep your protein and your fat at the same equation whenever you try to reduce your calories. So your weight's going to go down, so your equation's going to be different a little bit, but mainly the main change is going to be in your carbohydrate intake to get your calories down. Alright, so at the end, again, supplements are basically a waste of time if you're looking at weight loss, and by supplements I mean weight loss supplements. The other supplements that I've spoken about before, I recommend again, and that is whey protein, to help you get to your protein goals in a very convenient, time saving and money saving, efficient way, and also tasty way. So get yourself a whey protein if you can't get to say 200-180 grams of protein a day from regular food. If you can do it through regular food, that's great for you. If not, then you can use a whey protein. You can go to cymex-me.com, and you can use my code AliSMX to get 15% off Ultra Whey, which is the best quality protein in the market, available in chocolate, vanilla and strawberry, and they're just all so good. It gives you 34 to 35, depending on the flavor, grams of protein per serving, which is higher than any other competitor, and it just tastes amazing. So go check it out. Also, creatine is a very great supplement during cutting. No, it does not fill you with water and that bullshit. It just helps you maintain your strength when you're losing weight and helps you maintain your muscle mass. So creatine is a great supplement during cutting and bulking. Another supplement that would help you in your fat loss is a pre-workout, and that is to give you an extra energy to do the workout that you're dreading. and usually after a long day of work you're tired, and that gives you the extra push. So my favorite is Explode by Cymex. You can also find it on the website. Creatine monohydrate is also available on the website, as along with Creaplex, which is a supplement that contains creatine, amino acids, vitamins, and some glucose to help transport that creatine into your muscles. Also, other supplements that are vital to your weight loss are a multivitamin and fish oil. Those are just for optimal health, to make sure that your body is at a perfect condition to burn as much fat and maintaining its health the right way. And now, if you're gonna waste your money and buy supplements, then honestly I can't recommend any fat burning supplements, because none of them have any scientific evidence to them that they help you burn fat more than coffee or green tea, for example. Coffee and green tea, in other words, caffeine in coffee and green tea helps you burn more calories. It stimulates your metabolism and helps you burn more fat. That is clinically proven. However, nothing else has been studied enough to show any significance on weight loss. So do not go and waste your money on fat burners. Instead, get yourself some coffee, some green tea, and spend the rest of your money on getting a proper diet, a proper whey protein, creatine, etc., and you will be just fine. Also, if you don't like the taste of green tea, you can go to www.greentx50.me and get yourself some of the new Vita Matcha green tea by Green Tea X50. You can message me for more details on prices, and I can give you a discount code as well. It's available in many delicious flavors like passion fruit, peach, mango, tropical, original, and raspberry, and lots of other stuff as well. So if you don't really like the taste of green tea, you can use this. It's a sweet alternative. It has 20 times the concentration of one green tea bag, and it also contains resveratrol, which is a very important antioxidant. And that's it. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.